Okay, so this video I'm going to do a few without the supply and demand method. And I'll kind of show you why sometimes it can be a little bit more complicated. You have to do a little bit of weaving and rewriting and things, and it's just a little bit more tedious to me. Even though it might seem at first like supply and demand is a little bit of stuff you have to do at the beginning, it makes drawing it a whole lot easier than what I'm about to do here, okay? But I'll do it just so you can kind of see this way. If it works better for you, that's fine. You just have to be careful that everything is correct at the end, okay? So I start out the same way as before. So I know sulfur is going to be in the middle. It's the least electronegative. It's also by itself. I have 3 oxygens off to the side, okay? I still have to count out my valence electrons that I have. So I'm already having to do supply anyways. Because I have to know what to draw. So sulfur has 6. Oxygen has 6, but since there's 3, that's 18. Okay, so my total number, okay, is 24. So I have to make sure 24 electrons are represented in this drawing. Okay, so I can do it a couple different ways. I know that everything has to be at least bonded with one line. Because it's a bond. That's what we're talking about. So it has to be bonded with at least one line. Okay, then I can just kind of go in and start filling in my electrons. So I always start from the outside. So I know I have 2, 4, 6. Okay, I have to get up to 24, but each individual atom cannot have more than 8. So 2, 4, 6. Okay, 8, 10, 12. So, and then that's 8, so that's okay. 12, okay. 14, 16, 18. So that gives me 8 there. 18, 20, 22, 24. Okay, so I'm at my 24, so I can't add any more dots. Okay, so I've got 2, 4, 6, 8, 2, 4, 6, 8, 2, 4, 6, 8. My oxygens are all good, but my sulfur is short 2 electrons. I cannot go add 2 electrons because I can only supply 24. So this is where it gets a little tricky. Okay, I have to figure out how can sulfur get 2 electrons. Okay, so I have to think about where that can come from. So what it ends up doing is it's actually going to take these 2 and kind of move them here so that they're sharing it. Okay, so my final result, okay, is going to look something like this. So I have sulfur bonded to that oxygen. Bonded to that oxygen. Over here, I now have 2 lines. I have my original line, and then I now have these electrons that have moved here to share. So on this oxygen, I only have 4 dots, okay, because I'm missing 2 of them. I have my same 6 dots all the way around the rest of it. Okay, so let me double check. Does that give me 24? 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 22, 24. So that gives me my 24, and now everything is satisfied for the octet rule that they all have 8. Okay, let's look at Cl2. Okay, so I know that, so again, I have to do my supply. I have to know how many electrons, excuse me, I can draw. So each chlorine has 7, so that's 14 electrons. So I know I'm going to have a chlorine and a chlorine, and I know they have to be bonded together by at least sharing 1 pair. So now I'm just going to go in and fill up to 14. So start with 2, 4, 6, 8. Can't put any more there. 10, 12, 14. So that gives me my 14. Everybody has 8. Everybody's good. Okay, and I'm satisfied with my supply. Okay, so that one works just fine doing it this way. Let's look at CO. So I still have to count how many electrons I have. I'm supplying. So carbon is 4, oxygen is 6. So that means I can only draw 10 electrons. So I know I have carbon and oxygen next to each other. I know they at least have to have 1 bond here, holding them together. So now I can just go start filling in my other 10. Okay, so here's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So I've filled in all the electrons I can fill. I can't add any more because it can only have, they're only supplying 10. I can't magically make some appear. But what's wrong with this picture is that oxygen is short electrons. It wants 8. It only has 4 here. It has 2 and 2. So how can it get more electrons? Okay, it's going to have to share with carbon. So I'm going to kind of have to do the same thing that I did up here. I'm going to have to take some electrons and move them. So these are going to have to go here, and these are going to have to go here. Okay, so when I rewrite that, I have carbon and oxygen. I had my original bond. Okay, and then I know now these electrons are moving into a line that are being shared. These electrons are moving into a line that are being shared. And then I still have my 2 that were remaining here and here. So let me make sure that gives me my 10, because I can't have more than 10. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. So that's 10, and each atom has 8. 2, 4, 6, 8, 2, 4, 6, 8. Okay, so if this method is easier for you, that is fine to do it that way. You just have to be careful that you don't stop right here. Okay, you have to make sure that every atom has its full octet number. Okay, that full outer shell. So this is the mistake that a lot of people make, is they stop here, okay, and they don't keep going. So it's you end up drawing it incorrectly because of that. Okay, so if this way works better for you, that is fine. You can do it this way. If the supply and demand makes sense to you, then I suggest doing it that way. Okay, and I can do one. I'll do one more. Let me think about which one. Let me do SO2. Okay, so I'll do SO2. So I know, again, S is going to be in the middle. Okay, and I still have to find my supply. So sulfur has 6, oxygen each has 6, but there's 2. So that's 12. So that's 18 electrons. Okay, so I know that they have to have at least the one bond here holding them together. So I'm just going to start filling in till I get to 18. Then I have to stop. So here's 2 and 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 2, 4, 6, 8. So the oxygens are good. They all have 8. But my sulfur, 2, 4, 6, it's short 2 electrons. But I can't just add more dots because that's all I got. I got 18. Okay, so where can it get 2 more electrons? Okay, it's going to have to take them from oxygen. So if this oxygen moves its electrons into a shared position, okay, and then I rewrite what I have. So I have my original lines. Okay, if these electrons moved here into a shared position, so now I have 2 lines. Okay, then I can kind of just go in and fill in the other electrons that were there. And I need to double check to make sure everything has 8 and I have my full number of supply here and I don't have extras. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18. So that gives me my 18. 2, 4, 6, 8, that oxygen's good. 2, 4, 6, 8, this oxygen is good. 2, 4, 6, 8, and the sulfur is now good. Okay, so it doesn't matter how you do it. Just be careful that if you do it this way that you don't stop here. Okay, you've got to make sure that they each have their 8. If you do the supply and demand method, okay, when you're figuring out these pairs, these lines that you have to draw, it's doing that step for you. It's already moving things for you, so you're not having to think about doing that at the end. Okay, so it's up to you how you'd like to do it. There's no right or wrong way, as long as you're getting the same final result.